Well, the looks of these little retainers, you can tell what happened next. Take you over here. Pull the motor off of it. Real easy. You just take those two little lower metal retainers that hold the, I guess they're little motor mounts. And basically, they ride up underneath here. Pop out the two bolts on both sides. Engine comes right off. This is actually, this little bolt right there, that's actually the belt tensioner. So the way you tighten up the belt, the V-belt, is you loosen up the motor mounts and get the tightness where you want it with that. That rides against the bottom of the mounting block on the engine, and then you tighten down your motor mounts. So here's the old Honda clone pulled off of here. It's not in too bad a shape. I'm definitely gonna restore it, get it running again, have a good 6.5 horse laying around. There's my little kill switch override that didn't work. But yeah, so now I'm gonna try to disassemble the rest of this thing without making this a huge project. Gonna degrease it, pressure wash it, put a coat of paint on it. Still trying to track down a set of wheels. It's harder than you think these days. No one rides bikes anymore, it seems. Everyone's fat and wants to ride around electric bikes now, so bike shops don't stock old school 20-inch Huffy wheels, and it's hard to find. So I'm gonna try to see what I can find and take some measurements out here today. I'd love to put a set of run flats on here now that the technology has gotten better with those, maybe a set of marathons, so we'll see. So that's the progress now. Just gonna kind of continue disassembly and keep everything methodically organized and move on to the next step. So the bottom of the deck is here, and I want to show how the frame is attached to the bottom of the deck in case you guys are doing this at home. Pretty self-explanatory, but these are actually just nuts and bolts that go through the frame on that side. See the bolt right there? Goes through. So it's a through bolt design and utilizes a lock washer and a nut. 7/16 on both sides. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One down there. So 5 hold it around. Now, I haven't taken this apart yet, but what I'm thinking is that the red frame, the red part, the frame, I believe is going to pull the spindle and hub through the deck here. So I think it'll all come out as one piece, but we'll see as I get through it. So what I'm going to proceed to do is take out the rest of these frame bolts, and these will be replaced because they're very rusty. I think this is the perfect time to start this restoration before they completely seized through. But you can just see the durability of these decks. I mean, these things are built like tanks. They really are. All the welds are really good. The quality of the deck is fantastic. So I really do hope this turns out as good as I think it will. So I'm gonna pull these out. I'm gonna try to separate the frame from the deck, and then I can start the kind of the restoration process here. Okay, so you guys are seeing this when I do. I just removed all the frame bolts, and as expected, it looks like this is gonna be pretty independent of the deck. So a little finagling and I should be able to pull this right through the deck. As expected, really easy to free up the frame from the deck itself, and you could see how easily that came apart. So if you're doing one of these and you don't need to do anything to your main spindle, you don't need to take all this apart, which is good. Now, depending on how aggressive I want to get with this, I may go ahead and replace the bearings in here, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. My dad did keep up with greasing this over the years, and it does feel buttery smooth. So my theory with, especially this is the most important part of the mower, I feel may not be so important to take that apart. So Now what I'm gonna do is give this thing a bath. Degrease, pressure washer, light sanding, needs to be cleaned up pretty good. Same with the deck. I wanna make this look new, or at least like new again. So that's the disassembly process. I'm gonna take the rest of the stuff off the deck, like that chute catcher retainer. I already took off the self-propulsion mounts. I'm gonna actually just put some bolts in that spot because my dad never used that. I'm gonna take the front wheel off as well. Okay, a little more work on the front of the deck. Now we got the front spindle tire off of there. Got a chicken helper helping out. She'd probably love to jump on that. So this is just another 3 bolts that came out. What are you doing? Sonia. So also the grass chute retainer. This is the only part, I don't know why KEE did this, but they used those flathead screws, and those things are terrible. I had to use a big screwdriver, kind of persuade that to get out of there, but now the deck's ready to go. So that's the naked KEE deck, model GC22. From my dad says he got this thing in the 70s. I talked to him, so I don't know. It's pretty damn good quality if you ask me. So gonna start tinkering on this. Got everything together here, ready to go. Also thought I'd note this too before I go any farther. I think a big part of deconstruction, reconstruction projects always are to keep things organized. And in the past, when I've taken stuff apart, I throw shit in bags and I don't really pay attention to stuff, and that's where you kind of go wrong, especially on something like this, which is, I guess you could say, it's sort of a nut and bolt restoration in that I am replacing a lot of nuts and bolts. These are all the rusty deck retainer bolts that I'm going to get. There's 5 of those right here. There's 3 bolts that retain the front wheel on. Here's the engine mount bolts. Everything is methodically placed here so I know what I'm working with. This is the grass chute. These are those flatheads I was talking about. Pain in the neck. Got them out though. Gonna replace those with some hex. But I like to try to keep everything neat and organized. So I have really the only tools you need for this project are 1/2 inch and 7/16 open end ratchet or open end wrenches, and then some obviously deep well sockets for stuff that needs to go deep well. But this is how I lay it out. So now I know that these are all the parts that came off of it. I know what I got to do to put it back on. So I'm going to take these bolts, nuts, and everything else to Ace Hardware, get all new grade 8 fasteners, galvanized, etc., and be on my way to put it back together, and I'll be not missing anything. Well, round one after pressure washing. So now the next stage is going to be to do a good degreasing of the frame, mainly. I'll throw some degreaser on the deck as well, but I wanted to just show what a pressure washer can do. Cleaned it up quite a bit. Took off the old scaly paint that was flaking anyways. Got the deck real nice and clean. All nice metal. Even did the underside as well. Got a little dirt. Gotta get off of there, but this is starting to make a nice clean start here. So still got my chicken helper. That's Sonia. So yeah, now I'm gonna get some degreaser on here and finish getting this frame in acceptable condition. I mean, it does, you know, it's not going to be perfect. It does have its level of scale and junk on it, but this is definitely not going to be a perfect nut and bolt restoration by any means, but it'll definitely be an overall improvement of the machine. I'll try to get some of this scaled area as smooth as I can without spending so much time on it. So let's see what we can do. Got some degreaser sitting on here. I'm just using your run-of-the-mill Home Depot special all-purpose degreaser, making sure I'm not spraying this crap around where the dogs are going to be outside. Be responsible with it. But now this will soak in and get all that grease and oil off the frame, help me get it painted nicely. Okay, gave it a pretty good sanding down, as best as it's going to get. This is pretty scaly and deep rust there where the sweat would drip off you. But I was able to smooth out a lot of it. It's not perfect. I never said it would be, but I think it'll be a good base for the paint. It'll look good. I got all degreased and everything else. I'm gonna do another round of degrease. Should be good to paint it. Okay, what I'm doing now is I just soak the deck down in alcohol. So just wiping it down with alcohol. It's already been pressure washed and degreased. So now the alcohol will help the Rust-Oleum really stick to the surface. Not a lot's coming off anymore, which is good. So I'll just keep wiping this down with alcohol so we have a good surface for this paint to stick on. And I'm going to show you the paint here in the next clip. So check this out. We were in Home Depot, one of the last clips, and here's the original color under that sticker. And here's that satin jade that I found. That is pretty damn close to what I think KEE used back in the 70s. So remember, I bought the John Deere green, but I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm gonna see what this satin jade looks like first, especially if I run a couple coats of this and I hit it with clear. It might just give us the look we're going for. All right, paint has been applied, and I'm gonna say it looks pretty damn good. I wasn't expecting it to look this professional with just spending 3 or 4 hours on this. I did sand a lot of the rust off of this thing, as much as that would come off. Again, if this thing's really from the 70s, it's it's a long time for rust to be sitting in metal. And if it's any testament to these KEE mowers, not KEE's, KEE mowers, made in Bradenton, I believe Bradenton, yeah, Florida. Man, these things are tough, very well built. Instead of pulling the pulley, I just gave it some fresh silver on there. All that's fine. I don't want to make this more of a project than it already has become. The deck I'm very happy with. Very, very, very close match to what factory was. I think the only difference from this and factory, I think the hue is correct, the depth, the contrast, the color itself is correct. I think the only difference is that they use like a hammered metallic finish. This is more just it's a satin finish with that's about 4 coats of clear on there. That's gonna now sit here and dry for the next couple days out here in the sun. But no fancy paint booths or nothing like that. You can achieve this with decent spray paint, some good prep, and taking your time. I taped off the original grips. I'm gonna keep the original grips on it just because those been on there since original, and I kind of like them. They're nice and grippy. So they're not gonna win any beauty pageants, but they're not bad. But overall, I think it came out really good. The trick with this is just really getting it degreased and cleaned so the paint will adhere and not flake off over time. So I'm not gonna keep talking about it. I'm gonna let this dry and set up. Tomorrow, I'm gonna head out and get the bolts, all the new hardware for it, and then I'm gonna be on a hunt to try to find some new wheels and tires for this thing, because those things are bad. Next thing I also have to do is paint the front little spindle wheel. That's gonna be a little more challenging. I can't get the Allen set screws loose on the axle, so I can't pull the wheel, so I'm gonna have to kind of paint around it and do the best I can. So that's that, and yeah, cool.
Why I get so excited about this is look at the ingredients that he does. We're talking about real apple juice, we're talking about apple cider vinegar, we're talking about real cinnamon and sweetened with stevia. Only has 4 grams of sugar in an 8-ounce bottle. I'm sorry, there's 2 servings, but so 8 grams of natural sugar, 0 added.
July of 1999 with a budget of only $60,000 and over time grossed $248 million with 1.5 million of that just in the opening weekend alone. And because of that profit to budget ratio, it actually ended up in the Guinness Book of World Records. A lot of people critique this movie by saying it's not scary, you don't actually see anything at all, but I think what they achieved